Life will throw many challenges your way. People will test your patience, your limits, and your character. But here's the truth: no one can break you unless you let them. A strong mind doesn't come from avoiding difficulties. It comes from embracing them, facing them head on, and growing stronger because of them. A person with a strong mind knows that pain, failure, and criticism are just part of life. They don't define who you are. How you react to them does. Life is unpredictable, and we cannot control many of the things that happen around us. Events, circumstances, and people's actions are often beyond our influence, and it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that our happiness and peace of mind depend on controlling these external factors. However, the core of mental strength lies in the understanding that we can control how we respond to these circumstances, not the circumstances themselves. The key to building a strong mind is learning how to control our reactions, not the world around us. When something unexpected happens, such as an argument with a loved one, a setback at work, or even a failure in a personal goal, the natural instinct is often to feel upset, frustrated, or angry. These emotions can be overwhelming, especially if we believe we have been wronged or that life is not going the way we planned. However, the Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot always control what happens to us, but we can always control how we choose to respond. This shift in perspective is liberating. It allows us to take back control over our emotions and thoughts. Rather than letting external events dictate our internal state, we can choose to approach each situation with calmness and reason. For instance, if you face a setback at work, instead of reacting with frustration or anger, you can pause, reflect, and decide how to respond constructively. You might ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? Or, how can I use this experience to grow? When we focus on controlling our reactions, we free ourselves from the cycle of stress and anxiety caused by trying to control things that are beyond our reach. It allows us to maintain a sense of inner peace, even in the face of chaos. It also helps us stay focused on the things that truly matter: our actions, our growth, and our well-being. Learning to control our reactions takes practice. It's not something that happens overnight. However, with consistent effort, we can begin to respond more consciously rather than reacting impulsively. The first step is becoming aware of our emotions and thoughts when we are faced with a challenge. Instead of letting anger or fear take over, we can pause, breathe, and choose to respond in a way that aligns with our values and goals. One powerful tool for controlling our reactions is mindfulness. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment and observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we can notice when we are becoming angry, anxious, or frustrated, and instead of letting these emotions control us, we can take a step back and create space between the stimulus and our reaction. This space is where we have the power to choose our response. Another important aspect of controlling our reactions is understanding that not everything is personal. Often, we take things too personally, believing that the actions of others are direct reflections of us. If someone criticizes us or acts in a way that we don't like, it's easy to feel hurt or attacked. But when we remind ourselves that other people's actions are influenced by their own experiences, beliefs, and emotions, it becomes easier to detach emotionally from the situation and not let it affect us as deeply. In addition, it's crucial to remember that our mind is our most powerful tool. No matter what happens externally, our thoughts shape our reality. If we constantly focus on what's wrong or what we can't control, we reinforce feelings of helplessness and frustration. But if we choose to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our behavior, and our reactions, we build a sense of empowerment and resilience. The more we practice controlling our reactions, the stronger our mind becomes. We start to develop a sense of emotional discipline that helps us navigate life's challenges with greater ease and wisdom. Rather than being at the mercy of external events, we become the masters of our own state of mind. In conclusion, controlling our reactions is the cornerstone of mental strength. It empowers us to face life's challenges with clarity, calm, and purpose. By practicing this habit consistently, we cultivate a mind that is unshaken by the ups and downs of life, and we can navigate the world with a sense of peace that comes from within. Hardship is often viewed as something to avoid, something unpleasant that disrupts the comfort of daily life. Many people spend their lives running from discomfort, fearing failure, loss, or difficulty. But the truth is that hardship is not an enemy to be feared. It is an essential part of life, one that can shape us into stronger, more resilient individuals. Embracing hardship is key to developing a mind that cannot be broken, for it is through facing challenges that we build the strength to endure life's storms. At its core, hardship teaches us about our limits. It reveals the areas where we are weak and forces us to confront parts of ourselves that we may have been avoiding. Without hardship, there is no growth. When we experience difficulties, we are given the opportunity to push past our comfort zones, to expand our capacity, and to transform ourselves in ways we might never have imagined. Every obstacle, every failure, every difficult moment is a chance to build mental and emotional resilience. Take, for example, the process of physical training. To become stronger, we must first experience the discomfort of pushing our muscles beyond their normal capacity. At first, it's painful, but with time, those same muscles grow stronger, and what was once difficult becomes easier. The same is true for the mind. Mental strength is built by subjecting it to stress and challenge. Just as the body grows stronger through resistance, the mind grows stronger through adversity. Hardship is also an opportunity to develop virtues like patience, perseverance, and humility. When things don't go as planned, it can be tempting to give up, or to fall into despair. But those who learn to persevere through hard times cultivate a mindset of endurance. They learn that setbacks are not permanent, and that success is not defined by never facing difficulties, but by the ability to rise every time they fall. In this way, hardship teaches us that our true power lies not in avoiding suffering, but in facing it with dignity and determination. Furthermore, hardship often forces us to re-evaluate our priorities. When life gets tough, we begin to see what truly matters. The things that once seemed important, material possessions, the approval of others, the pursuit of fleeting pleasures, lose their significance. What becomes clearer is the value of inner peace, of personal growth, of relationships built on genuine connection. Through hardship, we are often forced to strip away the distractions of life and focus on what is essential. This process of stripping away helps us build a more grounded and purposeful life, one that is not easily swayed by external circumstances. Another powerful aspect of hardship is its ability to cultivate gratitude. When we experience difficulty, we begin to appreciate the good things in life more deeply. Often, we take our blessings for granted, but when faced with challenges, we learn to value the simple things: good health, supportive relationships, a roof over our heads, and the ability to keep going despite the obstacles in our path. Gratitude, in turn, strengthens our mind, as it shifts our focus away from what is lacking to what is abundant in our lives. It is important to note that embracing hardship does not mean seeking out suffering for the sake of it. It means accepting that suffering is a natural part of life, and that we do not need to run from it. By embracing hardship, we are not giving up our pursuit of happiness or peace, but rather we are acknowledging that these things are often found in the very moments of struggle. True happiness is not the absence of difficulty, it is the ability to navigate difficulty with grace, wisdom, and a steady mind. Moreover, hardship teaches us humility. When life is going well, it's easy to feel invincible or to take credit for our success. But when faced with difficulty, we are reminded of our limitations, our vulnerability, and the uncertainty of life. This awareness can humble us, making us more compassionate toward others who are struggling. It also helps us stay grounded, recognizing that our achievements are often the result of both our efforts and the circumstances we've been given. Ultimately, embracing hardship is about seeing life through a lens of opportunity. It is about understanding that the challenges we face are not obstacles, but stepping stones toward greater strength, wisdom, and fulfillment. When we begin to view hardship as a teacher, we open ourselves to a deeper level of growth. We learn that the path to a strong, unshakable mind is not one of avoidance, but one of courageously moving through adversity, knowing that with each step, we are becoming more resilient and more capable of facing whatever comes our way. The need for external approval is something that many of us struggle with. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to seek validation from those around us. Whether it's from our parents, teachers, peers, or society at large, we grow up learning that acceptance and praise are the markers of success. This constant desire for approval can become a powerful force in our lives, influencing the way we make decisions, how we see ourselves, and how we interact with the world. But the truth is, the more we rely on others' opinions to define our worth, the weaker we become. A mind that is dependent on external approval is like a leaf caught in the wind, blown in whichever direction the opinions of others go. One day, someone may praise you for something you did, and the next, they may criticize you for the same thing. This constant fluctuation leaves you vulnerable, as your sense of self-worth becomes tied to an unstable external source. You begin to live not for yourself, but for the validation of others, shaping your actions and decisions based on what will garner praise or avoid criticism. The Stoic mindset teaches us that true peace comes not from the approval of others, but from self-acceptance and understanding. A person who has mastered their own mind does not need the validation of others to feel confident in their choices. Instead, they rely on their own values, their own beliefs, and their own sense of right and wrong. When you are rooted in your own truth, the opinions of others lose their power over you. Whether people praise or criticize you, it no longer affects your sense of worth, because you are not looking to others to define you. This doesn't mean that we should become completely indifferent to others, or that we should abandon relationships or respect for other people's perspectives. Rather, it means that we should stop allowing the approval of others to dictate how we feel about ourselves. We must develop the strength to stand firm in our own values and actions, regardless of what others think. This takes practice, but it begins with understanding that external approval is a fleeting and unreliable source of happiness. It's not permanent, and it's not consistent. One day, people may love what you do. The next day, they may not. If your happiness is contingent on that, you will always be in a state of emotional instability. A person who seeks external approval may also fall into the trap of living inauthentically. They may choose careers, relationships, and lifestyles not because they align with their own desires or values, but because they want to impress others or gain social acceptance. Over time, this can lead to feelings of emptiness and dissatisfaction because they are not living true to themselves. Authenticity comes from within, and it is only when we stop seeking validation from others that we can start living the life that is truly ours. One powerful step in overcoming the need for external approval is learning to embrace criticism. Rather than taking it personally, we can view criticism as a tool for self-improvement. When we are not dependent on others' praise, we can approach their criticism with a clear mind, assess its validity, and use it to grow. The ability to detach from the sting of criticism is a sign of mental strength. We no longer view feedback as a threat to our self-worth, but as an opportunity to learn and become better. Similarly, when we receive praise, we can accept it with gratitude, but not allow it to inflate our ego. We must remain grounded, understanding that our worth is not defined by others' approval. If we let praise define us, we risk losing sight of who we truly are. The wise person does not become overly elated by praise, just as they do not become crushed by criticism. Instead, they remain steady, rooted in their own sense of purpose and value. Living without the constant need for approval also means making decisions based on what aligns with our internal values, not on what will please others. It means doing what is right, not what is popular. It's about living authentically, making choices that reflect who we truly are, even when those choices may not be understood or accepted by others. In this way, we begin to build a life of integrity, one where we are guided by our own principles and not by the fluctuating opinions of the world. Ultimately, when we free ourselves from the need for external approval, we unlock a deep inner strength. We stop living to please others and start living to please ourselves. We stop seeking validation and start trusting our own judgment. This kind of self-reliance is what leads to lasting confidence, peace of mind, and true freedom. When we no longer need the approval of others to feel good about ourselves, we become invincible. The world may try to shake us, but we remain unshaken because our sense of self is not dependent on anything outside of us. It is rooted firmly within. In life, we are often confronted with situations that are beyond our control. The weather changes, people act in ways we don't expect, opportunities come and go, and circumstances shift without warning. These external factors can be frustrating and disheartening, especially when we find ourselves in a position where we feel helpless. However, one of the most powerful habits we can cultivate is focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. By concentrating our energy on the things that lie within our control, we build a mind that is strong, resilient, and unshakable. The first step in this practice is understanding the difference between what is in our control and what is not. Our thoughts, actions, and reactions are within our control, but other people's opinions, the weather, the past, and the future are not. Realizing this distinction is liberating. When we focus on things outside of our control, we inevitably feel frustrated and powerless because we cannot change those things. But when we focus only on what we can control, we reclaim our power. This shift in mindset allows us to channel our energy in a way that strengthens our mental resilience and helps us navigate challenges with greater ease. One of the most empowering aspects of focusing on what is within our control is the ability to change our own behavior and reactions. When we are faced with a difficult situation, we may not be able to control what happens, but we always have the power to choose how we respond. For example, if we receive bad news, we cannot change the news itself, but we can control how we react to it. We can choose to stay calm, to approach the situation with a clear mind, and to focus on the steps we can take to move forward. This ability to control our reaction is where true strength lies. By practicing this mindset consistently, we train our minds to remain composed and focused even in the most challenging of circumstances. When we let go of the need to control everything around us, we free ourselves from the anxiety and stress that come with trying to manipulate the uncontrollable. We stop worrying about the opinions of others or stressing over situations that are outside our influence. Instead, we direct our attention to the things that truly matter: our actions, our thoughts, and our choices. This shift in focus enables us to live more peacefully because we are no longer wasting energy on things that are beyond our grasp. The more we practice focusing on what we can control, the more we develop a sense of inner calm. We stop reacting impulsively to external events and begin to respond with intentionality. When faced with challenges, we no longer feel overwhelmed or powerless because we know that we can always control how we act. Even if we cannot change the outcome of a situation, we can always control our effort, our attitude, and our ability to persevere. This mindset helps us build emotional resilience because we learn that we do not need to rely on external circumstances for our happiness or success. Instead, we find fulfillment in doing the best we can with the resources and opportunities available to us. Letting go of what we cannot control also means accepting uncertainty. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how much we plan, things do not always go as expected. Accepting this uncertainty allows us to stop clinging to rigid expectations and start embracing the flow of life. When we focus on what we can control, we are not paralyzed by fear of the unknown. Instead, we move forward with confidence, knowing that we can handle whatever comes our way. By accepting that uncertainty is part of life, we free ourselves from the need to control every outcome, which allows us to experience greater peace of mind. Another important aspect of focusing on what we can control is learning to let go of past mistakes and regrets. The past cannot be changed, and no amount of dwelling on it will alter its course. However, we can control how we learn from the past and how we move forward. By accepting our mistakes and viewing them as opportunities for growth, we free ourselves from the burden of regret. Instead of ruminating on what went wrong, we focus on how we can improve in the future. This shift in perspective helps us maintain a positive outlook and keeps us focused on the present moment. Focusing on what we can control also helps us develop a sense of personal responsibility. Rather than blaming others or external circumstances for our challenges, we take ownership of our actions and choices. This accountability empowers us to make positive changes in our lives. We no longer wait for things to change for us. Instead, we take proactive steps to improve our situation, knowing that we have the ability to shape our own future. Ultimately, The practice of focusing on what we can control builds a strong and resilient mind. It teaches us to respond to life with clarity and purpose, regardless of what is happening around us. By focusing our energy on the things that truly matter, our thoughts, actions, and reactions, we gain the mental strength to navigate any challenge that comes our way. This mindset allows us to remain grounded in the face of uncertainty, to find peace amidst chaos, and to live a life that is not dictated by external circumstances, but by our own values and choices. The present moment is the only time that truly exists. Yet, so many of us live in the past or the future, letting our thoughts wander to what has already happened or what might come next. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain, yet we spend so much energy on these 2 points in time, often losing sight of the only place where we actually have the power to act. The present. A strong mind is built when we learn to be fully present in the moment, and this ability to focus on now is essential for both personal growth and mental resilience. When we focus on the past, we often find ourselves caught in a cycle of regret, guilt, or nostalgia. We replay events in our minds, wishing we had done things differently or mourning the things we have lost. These thoughts can be paralyzing, preventing us from moving forward. Dwelling on the past does nothing to change what has already occurred, and it keeps us stuck in a state of longing or frustration. Rather than empowering us, it weakens our ability to act in the present. By focusing on past mistakes, missed opportunities, or even past successes, we tie ourselves to a moment that no longer exists. We rob ourselves of the opportunity to shape the present moment and create new possibilities. Similarly, when we focus on the future, we often become consumed by worry or fear of what might happen. We imagine all the things that could go wrong, all the obstacles that could arise, and all the uncertainties that might interfere with our plans. The future is unknown, and no amount of worrying about it will change the outcome. Yet, many of us spend countless hours in anxiety over what may or may not happen. This fear of the future can paralyze us, preventing us from taking action today. We become so focused on what lies ahead that we neglect to take the necessary steps in the present to build the future we desire. The truth is that the future is shaped by what we do right now. The more present we are in each moment, the better equipped we are to face whatever the future holds. Living in the present moment is about more than just a mental shift. It's a complete change in how we engage with life. It's about learning to fully experience each moment without distraction, without rushing to the next thing, and without worrying about what has passed or what is to come. When we are present, we are more attuned to our surroundings, to our feelings, and to our thoughts. We begin to notice the small details of life, the sound of the wind, the taste of our food, the warmth of the sun, and these simple pleasures become sources of peace and contentment. When we live in the present, we are not constantly thinking about the next task or the next problem. We are engaged in what is happening now, which is the only moment that truly matters. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate presence is through mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing our attention to the present moment, observing our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we become aware of how often our minds wander to the past or the future, and we learn to gently guide our attention back to the here and now. This practice allows us to experience life more fully, to savor the present moment, and to appreciate what we have right in front of us. It also helps us become less reactive to external events, as we learn to respond to situations with clarity and awareness, rather than out of habit or emotion. Another key aspect of living in the present is letting go of perfectionism. So many of us are fixated on doing things perfectly, or achieving ideal outcomes, and this mindset often keeps us from fully engaging with the present. We become so focused on what we want to achieve in the future that we miss out on the process of getting there. When we let go of the need for perfection, we free ourselves to experience life more fully. We stop worrying about making mistakes or about how others perceive us, and we start enjoying the journey itself. This shift allows us to be more present in our actions, to find joy in the process, and to learn from our experiences without being overly critical. Living in the present also requires letting go of attachment. Often, we hold on to certain ideas, people, or situations because we think they define us or bring us happiness. But when we are attached to something, we become afraid of losing it, and that fear keeps us from fully experiencing the present. Letting go of attachment allows us to live with greater freedom and flexibility. We no longer depend on external circumstances to make us happy or secure. Instead, we learn to find peace within ourselves, no matter what is happening around us. By focusing on the present, we stop waiting for something outside of us to change before we feel content or fulfilled. We stop looking for happiness in the future or in the past and begin to find it in the present moment. This shift in perspective empowers us to take control of our lives. We stop reacting to life and start living it intentionally, making the most of every moment, no matter how small. When we live in the present, we become more resilient because we are not weighed down by the past or overwhelmed by the future. We are able to face challenges with clarity, strength, and the confidence that we can handle whatever comes our way. The journey to building a mind that is unshakable requires discipline, emotional, mental, and physical. Resilience doesn't just happen overnight. It is forged through consistent effort, through a daily commitment to improve oneself. Mental strength isn't a trait we are born with, but a quality we develop over time through self-discipline and self-control. One of the greatest powers we can have is the ability to stay committed to our personal growth, even when the path is difficult and even when distractions or obstacles arise. The foundation of a strong mind is built through habits that reinforce focus, consistency, and perseverance, and it is these habits that help us remain unbroken in the face of adversity. The first aspect of self-discipline is controlling our impulses. In a world filled with distractions, it is easy to be swayed by momentary desires. The need for instant gratification is powerful and often leads us to make choices that are not aligned with our long-term goals. Whether it's procrastination, overindulgence, or the temptation to quit when things get tough, our ability to control our impulses is critical to developing mental strength. Every time we resist the urge to give in to distractions or temptations, we strengthen our ability to focus on what really matters. We learn to delay gratification, to choose what's good for us in the long run over what feels good in the moment. This is the essence of self-discipline, the ability to make decisions that align with our values and goals, rather than being ruled by our emotions or impulses. Consistency is the next pillar of building mental strength. It's not enough to practice self-discipline once in a while. It has to be a regular habit. This means showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Whether it's sticking to a workout routine, dedicating time each day to self-reflection, or making progress on a long-term project, consistency is what turns small efforts into big achievements. It's easy to start something new and feel motivated, but the real test comes when the initial excitement fades and the work becomes routine or challenging. Those who build mental resilience are the ones who keep going even when it's difficult, who don't give up when the results don't come quickly. Over time, these small daily actions accumulate and lead to substantial growth, both mentally and emotionally. To cultivate consistency, it's important to set clear goals and priorities. When we know what we're working toward, we can more easily stay on track, even when distractions arise. By clearly defining our objectives, we align our actions with our values and purpose. This gives us the motivation to push through the days when we don't feel like putting in the effort. Having a clear vision of what we want to achieve helps us maintain focus, and it provides a sense of direction when the path seems unclear or when we encounter setbacks. It's the practice of returning to that vision every day that builds a strong, resilient mind. Another critical aspect of mental strength is the ability to embrace discomfort. In a world that often encourages comfort and ease, true growth comes from stepping outside of our comfort zones. Every time we face a difficult situation, a challenge, or a discomforting emotion, we have the opportunity to grow stronger. It is in these moments of discomfort that we are tested. Our ability to persist, to continue moving forward despite the discomfort, builds our resilience. Whether it's taking on a challenging task at work, dealing with difficult emotions, or pushing ourselves physically, the discomfort we experience is an indicator that we are expanding our capacity. Those who build mental strength do not shy away from discomfort. They learn to embrace it as an essential part of their growth. Resilience also involves learning to recover from setbacks quickly. Failure is a part of life, and those who cultivate mental strength do not let failure define them. Instead, they see it as an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve. Resilience isn't about avoiding failure, it's about how we respond to it. When we face failure, we have a choice: we can let it break us, or we can use it as a stepping stone to greater success. Those with strong minds choose to view failure as temporary, as part of the journey, not as the end. They understand that setbacks are inevitable, but they are never the final destination. A disciplined mind also requires emotional regulation. Emotional strength doesn't mean suppressing emotions or ignoring how we feel. Rather, it's the ability to understand our emotions, manage them, and not let them control our actions. Life is full of ups and downs, and it's easy to be swayed by intense feelings of anger, frustration, or sadness. But those who build a strong mind do not let their emotions dictate their behavior. Instead, they acknowledge their feelings, but they do not allow them to cloud their judgment or lead them to act impulsively. They create space between feeling and reaction, and in that space, they have the power to choose their response. Emotional regulation is not about avoiding emotions, but about learning how to navigate them with clarity and wisdom. The final pillar of mental strength is the ability to stay focused on the long term. In a world that often rewards instant results, true mental resilience comes from keeping our eyes on the bigger picture. Whether we're pursuing personal growth, career goals, or relationships, success rarely comes overnight. It requires patience, persistence, and the ability to stay committed over the long haul. Those who build strong minds understand that the process is just as important as the outcome, and they are willing to put in the hard work, day after day, to achieve their goals. They don't get discouraged by short-term obstacles or the slow pace of progress, because they know that every small step forward is a step toward their ultimate goal. By developing self-discipline in these areas, controlling impulses, staying consistent, embracing discomfort, recovering from setbacks, managing emotions, and focusing on the long term, we build a mind that is unshakable. This is the foundation of mental strength, the ability to persist, to grow, and to overcome, no matter what challenges life throws our way.